For centuries, the people of Earth lived under the shadow of a silent belief held by beings far beyond their world. The Valens, an advanced alien species, watched humanity from afar, convinced that these strange creatures were forever bound to their blue planet. To the Valens, humans seemed primitive, unable to break free from the chains of their own limitations. They saw no evidence of spaceships leaving Earth, no colonies built on distant moons or planets. For them, it was proof enough that humanity would never join the stars. But what the Valens didn't know was that deep beneath the surface of Earth, hidden in places few even knew existed, humanity was quietly working on something extraordinary. In a secret facility buried deep within the Nevada desert, a team of scientists and engineers labored day and night. Their leader was Dr. Laura Bennett, a soft-spoken yet fiercely intelligent woman with a passion for solving problems that others deemed impossible. Beside her stood Ryan Carter, a skilled engineer who could turn even the wildest ideas into reality. Together, they led a project so ambitious that it had the potential to change everything, not just for Earth, but for how the rest of the galaxy viewed humanity. The project had many names over the years, but its final title was simple: Exodus. It wasn't just about building faster engines or stronger materials. It was about survival. Earth was changing, its climate growing more unstable, its resources dwindling with each passing year. Leaders around the globe had come to realize that staying on Earth meant risking extinction. And so, in secret meetings held in darkened rooms, plans were made to ensure humanity's future elsewhere. But there was another reason behind Exodus, one that few dared to speak aloud. Humanity wanted to prove the Valens wrong. If they could build ships capable of traveling across the stars, then they would show the universe that humans were not as weak as others thought. Laura often found herself thinking about this as she walked through the facility's long corridors late at night. The hum of machinery echoed around her, mingling with the faint smell of oil and metal. She passed rows of sleek, half-finished ships lined up like soldiers ready for battle. Each one was a marvel of engineering, designed to carry hundreds of passengers safely across the vast emptiness of space. These weren't just machines, they were lifelines, carrying the hopes and dreams of billions of people. Ryan joined her sometimes during these late-night walks. He was a man of action, someone who preferred solving problems with his hands rather than words. Yet even he couldn't help but feel awe when he looked at the fleet taking shape before them. "Do you think they'll understand?" he asked one evening, breaking the silence between them. His voice was low, almost hesitant, as if afraid of being overheard. "Understand what?" Laura replied, though she already knew what he meant. "That we're doing this because we have to, not because we want to conquer anyone or anything." Laura paused, considering his words. "Maybe," she said finally, "but I doubt it. To them, we're still just stuck here, primitive. They won't believe otherwise until they see it with their own eyes." Ryan nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the nearest ship. Its hull gleamed under the artificial lights, polished to perfection. "Well, we'll make sure they see it then," he said with a determined smile. 1,000 ships ought to get their attention. Despite their confidence, tensions ran high among the team. Not everyone agreed with the direction of the project. Some argued that focusing all their efforts on leaving Earth meant abandoning it entirely. What about the billions who wouldn't be chosen to board the ships? What about those left behind? Others believed that staying on Earth was futile anyway, that the damage done to the planet was irreversible. These debates often spilled into heated arguments, filling the cramped meeting rooms with raised voices and frustrated gestures. Even outside the facility, whispers of dissent began to spread. Rumors leaked to the public, sparking protests in cities worldwide. Some called the project a waste of resources, while others accused the government of planning to save only the wealthy and powerful. Laura and Ryan tried to ignore the noise, focusing instead on the task at hand. They knew the truth. Every decision they made, every piece of technology they developed, brought them closer to saving humanity, even if not everyone understood it yet. As the months turned into years, progress accelerated. The first fully functional ship launched successfully into orbit, completing a series of tests without issue. Cheers erupted in the control room, echoing through the facility like thunder. For the first time in a long while, hope filled the air. Maybe, just maybe, they really could do this. Maybe they could leave Earth behind and start anew somewhere else. But amidst the celebration, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced up at the monitors displaying live feeds from satellites orbiting Earth. Everything seemed normal. Clear skies, calm oceans, nothing out of place. Still, something nagged at the back of her mind. A quiet unease she couldn't quite explain. It wasn't paranoia, exactly. More like instinct. After all, they weren't the only ones looking at the stars anymore. Somewhere out there, the Valens were watching too. And sooner or later, they would notice what was happening here. When that day came, Laura knew humanity's journey would truly begin. The deeper humanity dug into the secrets of space travel, the clearer it became that Project Exodus was about more than survival. It wasn't just a plan to escape Earth's problems. It was a chance to redefine who humans were in the eyes of the universe. Laura Bennett and Ryan Carter often found themselves reflecting on this as they worked long hours in the Nevada facility. The project had started with practical goals: build ships, find habitable planets, and ensure humanity's future. But now, it carried a weight far greater than either of them had anticipated. Ryan spent most of his days in the engineering bay, overseeing the construction of the fleet's propulsion systems. These weren't ordinary engines. They were powered by technology so advanced that even the team struggled to fully understand it. The breakthrough had come months earlier when Laura and her research group discovered a way to harness energy from quantum fields. It was risky, unstable, and required precise calculations to avoid catastrophic failures. But if it worked, it would allow the ships to travel faster and farther than anything humanity had ever built before. Laura, on the other hand, divided her time between supervising experiments and addressing concerns from the crew. Not everyone shared the same vision for Exodus. Some team members argued that leaving Earth behind meant giving up on fixing its problems. Others worried about what might happen once they reached their destination. Would they find hostile alien species? Would the new planet be as welcoming as the data suggested? These questions haunted many, including Laura herself, though she rarely let it show. One evening, after another grueling day of testing, Ryan approached Laura in the facility's main lab. She was bent over a holographic display, studying a map of nearby star systems. Her brow furrowed in concentration, and her fingers moved quickly across the screen, adjusting variables and running simulations. Ryan leaned against the edge of the table, watching her work. "You know," he said casually, "sometimes I wonder if we're doing the right thing." Laura glanced up, surprised. Ryan wasn't usually one to voice doubts. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, looking uncomfortable. "I mean, we've been so focused on getting out there, proving ourselves to whoever's watching. But what happens after that? What if we're not ready?" Laura sighed, setting down the tablet she'd been holding. "We don't have a choice, Ryan. Earth is dying. If we stay here, we die with it. This isn't about being ready. It's about surviving." "I get that," Ryan replied. "But surviving doesn't mean thriving. We're talking about starting over on a completely alien world. That's going to come with challenges none of us can predict." Laura nodded, acknowledging his point. "You're right. It won't be easy. But we've faced challenges before. Humans are good at adapting. That's why we've made it this far." Ryan smiled faintly. "Yeah, but adapting usually means staying put and figuring things out over generations. This time, we're jumping straight into the deep end." Before Laura could respond, the door to the lab slid open, and a young technician named Mia entered. Her face was pale, and she looked visibly shaken. "Dr. Bennett, Mr. Carter," she stammered, clutching a datapad tightly in her hands. "You need to see this." Curious, Laura gestured for her to continue. Mia placed the datapad on the table and activated the screen. A series of images appeared, grainy footage captured by one of Earth's orbital telescopes. At first glance, they seemed unremarkable, showing nothing more than empty stretches of space. But then Laura noticed something unusual, a faint, blinking light moving steadily across the frame. "What is that?" Ryan asked, leaning closer to examine the image. "We think it's a probe," Mia explained. "It's been orbiting Earth for weeks, maybe longer. Our sensors only picked it up recently because it's using some kind of cloaking technology." Laura frowned, her mind racing. "Alien?" Mia nodded. "Almost certainly. The design doesn't match anything we've seen before. And based on the trajectory, it's been mapping our planet." Ryan crossed his arms, his expression darkening. "So someone knows we're here. Do we know who sent it?" "Not yet," Mia admitted. "But whoever it is, they're watching us closely." For a moment, no one spoke. The implications of the discovery hung heavy in the air. If aliens were monitoring Earth, it meant humanity wasn't as alone as they'd thought. More importantly, it raised questions about whether their plans for Exodus were still secret, or if someone out there already knew exactly what they were doing. Laura broke the silence first. "We need to analyze this probe," she said firmly. "Find out where it came from, and what it's been recording. If we're going to launch 1,000 ships, we can't afford any surprises." Ryan agreed. "And if they've been spying on us, there's a good chance they'll try to stop us." Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly to gather more information about the mysterious probe. They tracked its movements, studied its energy signatures, and attempted to decipher the signals it was sending back into space. What they found both fascinated and alarmed them. The probe wasn't just observing Earth. It was collecting detailed data about the planet's geography, atmosphere, and population. Worse still, it contained maps of nearby star systems, complete with coordinates for potentially habitable planets. "This is incredible," Laura murmured as she scrolled through the decrypted files. "Whoever sent this probe has explored far beyond our reach. But why share this with us?" Ryan wondered aloud. "If they wanted to help, wouldn't they have contacted us directly?" "Maybe they didn't expect us to hack into it," Mia suggested. "Or maybe they're testing us, seeing how we react." Laura shook her head. "Either way, we can't ignore this. These maps could save us years of searching. If we use them, we might actually stand a chance of finding a new home." Ryan hesitated. "Do we really want to trust information from an unknown source? What if it's a trap?" "It's a risk," Laura admitted. "But we don't have the luxury of waiting. Every day we delay puts us closer to disaster." In the end, the decision was unanimous. The team integrated the probe's data into their navigation systems, using it to refine their flight paths and identify potential destinations. As they prepared for the next phase of Exodus, excitement mingled with unease. Humanity was finally stepping out into the stars, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone anymore. Weeks turned into months as the final preparations for the launch of the 1,000 ships continued. The team worked tirelessly, knowing that every detail mattered. Laura Bennett and Ryan Carter pushed themselves harder than ever, aware that failure was not an option. The stakes were too high, not just for them, but for all of humanity. Still, the discovery of the alien probe lingered in the back of their minds. They had used its data to chart potential destinations, but the question remained, who had sent it, and what did they want? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the Nevada desert, Ryan stood outside the facility. He stared up at the stars, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. The sky seemed endless, filled with countless points of light. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of Earth's atmosphere, unknown forces were watching. Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was stepping into a game they didn't fully understand. Inside the control room, Laura was reviewing the latest updates on the fleet's readiness. Every ship had been inspected. Every system tested multiple times. The countdown to launch day was now measured in days, not weeks. Despite her confidence in the project, she felt a growing tension. It wasn't just the pressure of ensuring everything went smoothly. It was the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Would the maps from the alien probe lead them to safety, or would they walk straight into danger? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Late one night, alarms blared throughout the facility. Technicians rushed to their stations, their faces pale with alarm. Laura sprinted into the control room, her heart pounding. On the main screen, a blinking red dot appeared near Earth's orbit. It wasn't one of their ships. It was something else. "What is that?" Ryan demanded, appearing at her side moments later. "It's a ship," Maya replied, her voice trembling. "An alien ship. It's approaching fast." Laura's mind raced. The Valens, the species they had speculated about for so long, were no longer just a theory. This was real. The alien vessel was massive, easily dwarfing anything humanity had built. Its sleek, metallic surface gleamed faintly in the sunlight, and strange symbols etched into its hull suggested advanced technology far beyond human understanding. "Are they hostile?" Ryan asked, though he already knew the answer was unclear. "We don't know," Laura said grimly, "but we need to find out." The team scrambled to establish communication. Using the same frequency they had hacked from the probe, they sent a message in binary code, a universal language of sorts. For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then suddenly, the screen flickered, and an image appeared. It was distorted, almost ghostly, but unmistakably alien. The being on the screen had elongated limbs, smooth, featureless skin, and large, luminous eyes that seemed to pierce through the monitor. "This is Commander Jur of the Valen Empire," a voice crackled through the speakers. It was deep and resonant, yet strangely mechanical. "You are trespassing on territory claimed by our people. Cease your activities immediately." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Laura stepped forward, her voice steady despite the knot of fear in her stomach. "We are not trespassing," she said. "We are preparing to leave Earth in search of a new home. Our planet is dying, and we have no choice but to seek refuge elsewhere." The alien tilted its head slightly, as if studying her. "Your kind has always been confined to your world," Jur replied. "Why do you believe you are capable of surviving among the stars?" Ryan bristled at the condescending tone, but held his tongue. Laura, however, remained calm. "Because we have no other option," she said firmly, "and because we refuse to give up. If you stand in our way, we will find a way around you." Jur's expression, or what passed for an expression, didn't change. "Your arrogance is typical of your species," the alien said. "You lack the wisdom to navigate space without causing chaos. We cannot allow you to proceed." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the team in stunned silence. Laura clenched her fists, frustration bubbling inside her. She had known the Valens might try to stop them, but hearing it confirmed made it feel more real and more dangerous. "We're not backing down," Ryan said, breaking the quiet. His voice was low but determined. "If they think they can scare us off, they're wrong." Laura nodded. "Agreed. But we need a plan. We can't fight them head-on. They're too powerful." Samantha Ellis, the young pilot assigned to the lead ship, spoke up from the corner of the room. "What if we don't fight them at all? What if we slip past them?" Everyone turned to look at her. Samantha shrugged, unfazed by the attention. "I've been studying the solar flare patterns. There's one coming in 3 days. If we time it right, we can use it as cover to bypass their ship." Laura considered the idea. It was risky. Solar flares were unpredictable, and navigating through one could damage the fleet. But it might be their only chance. "It's dangerous," she admitted, "but it could work." Over the next 2 days, the team worked feverishly to prepare for the maneuver. Engineers reinforced the ship's shields, while navigators plotted precise courses to minimize exposure to the flare's radiation. Tension ran high, but there was also a sense of determination. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and this was no different. On the third day, as the solar flare approached, the fleet assembled in orbit. From her seat aboard the lead ship, Samantha watched the Valen cruiser loom in the distance. Its presence was intimidating, but she refused to let fear take hold. Beside her, Laura and Ryan monitored the situation from the command center, their eyes glued to the screens. "Ready?" Ryan asked, glancing at Laura. "As ready as we'll ever be," she replied. With a deep breath, Samantha initiated the sequence. The 1,000 ships moved in unison, their engines roaring to life. As they entered the edge of the solar flare, the intense radiation created a chaotic storm of light and energy. For a few terrifying moments, visibility dropped to zero, and the ships were forced to rely entirely on their instruments. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the flare subsided. The fleet emerged on the other side, intact and undetected. Behind them, the Valen cruiser remained stationary, seemingly unaware that the humans had slipped away. In the command center, cheers erupted. Laura allowed herself a small smile, though relief was tempered by caution. They had evaded the Valens, for now, but this was only the beginning. Out in the vastness of space, challenges awaited that none of them could predict. And somewhere, perhaps watching from afar, the Valens were planning their next move. The day finally arrived, the day humanity had been working toward for decades. The 1,000 ships stood ready, their sleek forms gleaming under the harsh desert sun. For years, they had been nothing more than blueprints, theories, and dreams. Now, they were real. Each ship carried hundreds of passengers, scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, families, all carefully chosen to represent the diversity of Earth. They were not just leaving their planet behind. They were carrying its legacy with them. Laura Bennett stood on a raised platform overlooking the launch site, her heart pounding in her chest. She had spent so much of her life dedicated to this moment, pouring every ounce of her energy into making it happen. Beside her stood Ryan Carter, his hands clasped tightly together as he watched the final preparations unfold. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. The weight of what they were about to do hung heavy in the air. Farther away, crowds gathered at designated viewing areas scattered across the globe. Millions of people tuned in through live broadcasts, their faces filled with a mix of hope, fear, and awe. This was history in the making. Children clung to their parents' hands, wide-eyed as they stared at screens showing the fleet lined up like sentinels against the horizon. Elderly men and women wiped tears from their eyes, remembering the struggles humanity had endured to reach this point. Even those who had doubted the project couldn't help but feel a spark of pride as the countdown began. Inside the lead ship, Samantha Ellis sat in the pilot's seat, her fingers resting lightly on the controls. She was young, only 26, but her skills had earned her the responsibility of guiding the first vessel into space. Around her, the crew worked quietly, double-checking systems and running last-minute diagnostics. The hum of machinery filled the cabin, punctuated by the occasional crackle of radio communication. Outside the viewport, the Nevada desert stretched endlessly, bathed in golden sunlight. 30 seconds to launch, came the voice of mission control over the intercom. Samantha took a deep breath, steadying herself. Her training had prepared her for this moment, but nothing could truly replicate the reality of commanding a ship that carried the hopes of billions. She glanced at the photo taped to the edge of her console, a picture of her family, smiling back at her. It was a reminder of why she was here, why all of them were here. Back in the command center, Laura and Ryan listened intently as the countdown reached its final moments. 10, 9, 8. Each number echoed like a heartbeat, building anticipation. Laura closed her eyes briefly, whispering a silent prayer. Ryan clenched his fists, his knuckles white with tension. This was it. There was no turning back now. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. A deafening roar split the air as the engines roared to life. Flames erupted from the base of each ship, sending shockwaves rippling across the desert floor. Dust and sand swirled violently, obscuring the view for a brief moment. Then, one by one, the ships lifted off the ground, rising gracefully into the sky. Their ascent was synchronized, a breathtaking display of precision and power. Thousands of tons of metal and technology defied gravity, climbing higher and higher until they disappeared into the clouds. Cheers erupted from the viewing areas around the world. People hugged each other, cried, and shouted with joy. Flags waved, fireworks lit up the night skies in some regions, and church bells rang out in others. Humanity had done it. Against all odds, they had launched 1,000 ships into space. On board the lead ship, Samantha felt a surge of exhilaration as the vessel broke through Earth's atmosphere. The sky transitioned from blue to black, and suddenly, the vastness of space stretched out before them. Stars glittered like diamonds against the endless void, and the curve of Earth became visible below. It was beautiful and terrifying. For the first time in her life, Samantha truly understood how small and fragile their planet was. In the command center, Laura and Ryan watched the live feed from the ships, their faces illuminated by the glow of monitors. The fleet was holding formation perfectly, each ship maintaining its position relative to the others. It was a marvel of engineering and coordination, proof that humanity could achieve greatness when united by a common goal. But even as the celebrations continued, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that challenges lay ahead. The Valens hadn't given up. They were still out there, watching, waiting. And beyond the safety of Earth's orbit, the unknown loomed larger than ever. What dangers awaited them in the depths of space? Would they find a new home, or would their journey end in failure? Ryan seemed to sense her unease. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've come this far," he said softly. "No matter what happens next, we've already changed everything." Laura nodded, forcing a smile. He was right. Humanity had taken its first steps into the stars, proving to the universe and to themselves that they were capable of more than anyone had believed. But the road ahead would be long and uncertain. As the fleet sailed deeper into space, leaving Earth behind, they carried not just the dreams of their species, but also the burden of survival. For now, though, they allowed themselves a moment of triumph. On Earth, people danced in the streets, celebrating a future that once seemed impossible. In space, the 1,000 ships glided silently through the darkness, their lights blinking like fireflies against the infinite expanse. Humanity had begun its journey among the stars, and though the destination remained unknown, one thing was certain: they would never look back. Weeks passed as the fleet sailed through the vast emptiness of space. The initial excitement of launch day had faded, replaced by the quiet rhythm of life aboard the ships. For most of the passengers, this was their first time leaving Earth, and the novelty of floating in zero gravity or gazing at distant stars hadn't worn off yet. But for Laura Bennett, Ryan Carter, and Samantha Ellis, there was little time to marvel at the wonders of space. They were too busy preparing for what lay ahead. The maps taken from the alien probe guided their journey, leading them toward a cluster of star systems that seemed promising. Each day, navigators plotted courses, engineers monitored ship systems, and scientists studied data about nearby planets. Despite their efforts, uncertainty lingered. Were they heading toward salvation or danger? No one could say for sure. One evening, as Samantha sat in the cockpit of the lead ship, she noticed something unusual on the scanners. A large object was drifting near their path, much bigger than any asteroid or comet they'd encountered so far. At first, she thought it might be debris left behind by some ancient civilization. But as the ship drew closer, her suspicions deepened. "Commander," she called over the intercom, addressing Laura, who was stationed in the command center. "We've got something up ahead. It's blocking our route." Laura frowned, leaning over the monitor to get a better look. The object was massive, larger than any of their ships, and its shape was unmistakably artificial. "It's another Valen cruiser," she said grimly. Her voice carried a note of frustration, but also determination. She had known the Valens wouldn't let them go without a fight. Still, seeing their blockade firsthand made the reality sink in. Ryan joined her moments later, his expression tense. "They're not going to make this easy, are they?" "No," Laura replied, "but we knew this might happen. Let's see what they want." The fleet slowed as it approached the cruiser, maintaining a safe distance. Once again, the team attempted to establish communication using the same frequency they had used before. This time, the response came quickly. The screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Joer of the Valen Empire. His elongated form filled the display, his luminous eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You continue to defy us," Joer said, his voice cold and mechanical. "Turn back now, or face the consequences." Laura stepped forward, her tone calm but firm. "We're not turning back. Our planet is dying, and we need a new home. We're not asking for permission. We're asking for passage." Joer tilted his head slightly, studying her with an unreadable expression. "Your kind is unpredictable. You lack the discipline to navigate space responsibly. Allowing you to proceed would endanger the balance of the galaxy." "That's not your decision to make," Laura shot back. "We're not here to cause trouble. We just want a chance to survive." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Joer spoke again, his words heavy with warning. "Very well. If you insist on continuing, you will do so under our supervision. Any deviation from your stated course will be seen as an act of aggression." Before Laura could respond, the transmission ended. The Valen cruiser remained in place, its presence a constant reminder of the power imbalance between their species. Humanity's 1,000 ships were advanced, but they were no match for the technology wielded by the Valens. "They're letting us go, for now," Ryan muttered, breaking the silence. "But they're watching every move we make." Laura nodded, her mind racing. She didn't trust the Valens, but she also knew they couldn't afford another confrontation. "Not yet. We'll play along for now," she said. "Stick to the planned route. Maybe once we're farther away, we can find a way around them." Samantha, listening in from the cockpit, felt a surge of unease. She trusted Laura's leadership, but the idea of being followed by the Valens made her skin crawl. What if they decided to change their minds? What if they attacked without warning? She pushed these thoughts aside, focusing instead on her duties as pilot. There was nothing she could do except keep flying, one step at a time. As the days turned into weeks, tensions within the fleet began to rise. Some passengers grew restless, frustrated by the slow progress and the looming threat of the Valens. Others argued about whether they should try to negotiate further with the aliens or take a more aggressive stance. In the command center, Laura and Ryan worked tirelessly to maintain order, addressing concerns and reassuring everyone that they were doing everything possible to ensure their safety. Meanwhile, Samantha spent hours poring over star charts and navigation logs, searching for a solution. She knew the Valens were tracking their movements, but she also knew space was vast and unpredictable. If they could find a way to slip out of sight, even briefly, they might stand a chance of breaking free. Her opportunity came sooner than expected. One night, while reviewing the ship's sensor readings, Samantha noticed an anomaly ahead. It was a dense cloud of cosmic dust, thick enough to obscure visibility for several light years. Most ships avoided such areas because navigating through them was risky, but Samantha saw potential. If they timed it right, they could use the dust cloud to mask their movements and disappear from the Valens sensors. She brought her idea to Laura and Ryan immediately. "If we enter the dust cloud, we can drop out of formation and change course," she explained. "The Valens won't be able to track us once we're inside." Laura hesitated, weighing the risks. Flying through a cosmic dust cloud was dangerous. It could damage the ship's hulls and disrupt communications, but staying under the Valens' watchful eye was even riskier. "It's our best shot," she admitted finally. "Let's do it." The plan was put into motion the following day. As the fleet approached the edge of the dust cloud, Samantha guided the lead ship into its swirling depths. One by one, the other ships followed, disappearing into the haze. For a few tense minutes, visibility dropped to almost zero, and the crew relied entirely on instruments to guide them. When they emerged on the other side, the Valen cruiser was nowhere to be seen. They had done it. They had slipped past their pursuers. Cheers erupted throughout the fleet, a wave of relief washing over everyone. But Laura reminded them to stay vigilant. "This isn't over," she said firmly. "The Valens will figure out what happened eventually. Until then, we need to keep moving." And so, the journey continued. The fleet sailed deeper into uncharted territory, their destination still uncertain. Ahead of them lay countless possibilities, new worlds, new challenges, and perhaps even new allies. But one thing was clear: humanity had proven it could adapt, survive, and push forward, no matter the odds. Out among the stars, they were writing a new chapter in their story, a chapter that would define them for generations to come. As the fleet sailed deeper into space, free from the immediate threat of the Valens, cracks began to form within its ranks. The unity that had carried them through the launch and their daring escape from the alien blockade started to weaken. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, bubbling up in heated arguments and whispered accusations. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its diversity. But now, that same diversity threatened to tear them apart. In the command center of the lead ship, Laura Bennett tried to stay focused on the mission. She knew the challenges they faced weren't just external. They were internal too. Every decision she made seemed to spark disagreement among the crew. Some, like biologist Daniel Harper, argued for caution. "We don't know what's out there," he said during one particularly tense meeting. "If we rush into this, we could make mistakes we can't undo." Others, including military strategist Colonel Emma Hayes, pushed for a more aggressive approach. "Caution won't save us if we're caught off guard again," she countered. "We need to be ready for anything: hostile aliens, dangerous planets, whatever comes our way." Laura listened patiently, her expression neutral, but inside, she felt the weight of their conflicting opinions pressing down on her. Ryan Carter stood beside her, his arms crossed as he watched the debate unfold. He understood the pressure Laura was under, but even he struggled to find common ground between the two sides. The disagreements weren't limited to strategy. Supplies were another source of tension. Each ship carried enough food, water, and fuel to last for years, but no one knew how long their journey would take. Some passengers suggested rationing resources immediately, while others argued that doing so would only cause panic. The fear of running out of essentials loomed over everyone, a constant reminder of how fragile their situation really was. Samantha Ellis, piloting the lead ship, found herself caught in the middle of these debates. As much as she wanted to focus on navigating the fleet safely, she couldn't ignore the growing unrest around her. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, she joined Laura and Ryan in the command center. The three of them sat in silence for a moment, staring at the star-filled viewport. "This isn't going to get easier, is it?" Samantha asked finally, breaking the quiet. "No," Laura admitted, "but we can't let it divide us. If we fall apart now, everything we've worked for will be lost." Ryan nodded. "She's right. We've got to keep moving forward, together. That's the only way we'll make it." Despite their resolve, the fractures within the fleet continued to widen. On one of the smaller ships, a group of passengers staged a protest, demanding answers about their destination and accusing the leadership team of withholding information. Rumors spread quickly, fueled by fear and uncertainty. Some claimed the Valens were still tracking them, while others believed the maps taken from the alien probe were leading them into a trap. To address the growing unrest, Laura called an emergency meeting with representatives from each ship. She stood before them, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. "I know you're scared," she began. "We all are. But panicking won't help us. We're doing everything we can to ensure your safety and find a new home. Trust me when I say we're closer than ever to achieving that goal." Her words calmed some, But not all. A few remained skeptical, questioning every decision and second-guessing the leadership team's motives. It was clear that trust, a fragile thing even in the best of times, was beginning to erode. Amid the turmoil, Ryan discovered something unsettling. While analyzing data from the alien probe, he stumbled upon encrypted files that hadn't been fully decrypted before. With Maya's help, he managed to unlock them, revealing disturbing information about the Valens' true intentions. The files contained records of past encounters between the Valens and other species that had attempted to expand beyond their home planets, just as humanity was doing now. None of those species had survived. They didn't just stop them, Ryan told Laura later, his face pale. They destroyed them. Entire civilizations wiped out because the Valens saw them as threats. Laura felt a chill run down her spine. So that's why they're so determined to stop us. It makes sense, Ryan said grimly. They don't just want to block us. They want to eliminate us. They see us as competition, a potential rival to their dominance. The revelation weighed heavily on both of them. They couldn't share this information with the rest of the fleet, not yet. Doing so would only increase the panic and distrust already spreading among the passengers. Instead, they decided to use the knowledge to guide their decisions, staying one step ahead of the Valens whenever possible. Days turned into weeks as the fleet pressed onward. The cosmic dust cloud had bought them some time, but Laura knew it wouldn't last forever. Sooner or later, the Valens would realize they'd been tricked and come looking for them. Until then, they needed to focus on finding a suitable planet, a place where humanity could settle and rebuild without fear of being hunted. One night, as Samantha guided the lid ship through a particularly dense region of space, the scanners picked up something promising. A nearby star system contained several planets, one of which appeared to have breathable air and liquid water. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best option they'd found so far. "We might have something," Samantha reported excitedly, her voice crackling over the intercom. Laura and Ryan rushed to the command center, their eyes fixed on the screen displaying the planet's data. "It's worth investigating," Laura said after a moment. "Send a landing party to scout it out." The announcement brought a renewed sense of hope to the fleet. For the first time in weeks, people allowed themselves to believe that their journey might actually end in success. But Laura reminded everyone to remain cautious. "We don't know what's waiting for us on that planet," she warned. "Stay alert and don't let your guard down." As the fleet approached the star system, preparations began for the landing mission. Scientists, engineers, and security personnel volunteered to join the team, eager to explore the new world. Among them was Daniel Harper, who saw this as an opportunity to prove his theories about caution and careful planning. For Laura, Ryan, and Samantha, the stakes had never been higher. They had evaded the Valens, navigated the challenges of deep space, and held the fleet together through moments of doubt and division. Now they stood on the brink of discovering whether their efforts had been worth it. Would this planet offer them a chance to start anew, or would it bring new dangers they couldn't anticipate? As the landing party prepared to descend to the surface, Laura gazed out at the stars, her mind racing with possibilities. Humanity had come so far, defying the odds at every turn. But the hardest part, the most uncertain part, still lay ahead. Whatever awaited them on that planet, one thing was certain: they would face it together, united by the shared dream of a brighter future among the stars. The landing party descended to the surface of the new planet with a mix of hope and caution. The atmosphere shimmered slightly as their shuttle broke through the thin layer of clouds, revealing a world that seemed almost too perfect to be true. Lush green forests stretched as far as the eye could see, interrupted only by vast blue lakes and rolling hills. The air was breathable, rich with the scent of unfamiliar plants, and the temperature was mild, just warm enough to feel comfortable. Samantha Ellis stood at the helm of the shuttle, guiding it gently toward a clearing near the edge of a forest. Beside her sat Daniel Harper, his face pressed against the viewport as he took in the view. "It's beautiful," he murmured, his voice filled with awe. I never thought we'd find something like this. Laura Bennett and Ryan Carter were part of the landing team as well, overseeing the operation from inside the shuttle. They had insisted on joining the mission, knowing how critical this moment was for humanity's survival. As the shuttle touched down, Laura turned to the group. "Remember why we're here," she said firmly. "This isn't just exploration, it's survival. Stay focused." The team disembarked cautiously, stepping onto soft grass that felt strange beneath their boots after months of living aboard the ships. Each member carried equipment designed to analyze the environment. Sensors to test soil composition, drones to scout the area, and medical kits in case anyone encountered unknown hazards. Despite the planet's inviting appearance, they couldn't afford to let their guard down. Daniel immediately began collecting samples, carefully examining the soil and vegetation. "The nutrient levels are high," he reported excitedly. "This land could support farming. We might actually be able to grow crops here." Ryan nodded, though his expression remained cautious. He scanned the horizon, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to confirm there's no wildlife, or anything else, that could pose a threat." As the hours passed, the team fanned out across the clearing, gathering data and marking potential sites for settlement. So far, everything seemed promising. The planet appeared uninhabited, with no signs of intelligent life or dangerous predators. Birds, or creatures resembling birds, flitted between the trees, their calls echoing softly in the distance. Streams flowed lazily through the landscape, their waters clear and fresh. But as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the ground, an uneasy feeling settled over the group. Samantha noticed it first, a faint hum, almost imperceptible, vibrating through the air. She stopped walking, tilting her head as she tried to pinpoint its source. "Do you hear that?" she asked, glancing around. The others paused, listening intently. Sure enough, the sound grew louder, resonating deep within their chests. It wasn't coming from the forest or the hills. It seemed to emanate from below them, as if the planet itself were alive. Laura frowned, pulling out a handheld scanner. "Something's interfering with our readings," she said, studying the device. "There's some kind of energy field underground." Before anyone could respond, the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. It wasn't violent, but enough to make them stumble. The hum intensified, growing louder until it became almost deafening. Then, without warning, the earth split open, revealing a hidden structure buried just below the surface. "What is that?" Daniel whispered, staring wide-eyed at the metallic object now exposed before them. It was massive, larger than any building they had ever seen, and covered in intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the fading light. Ryan stepped forward cautiously, his weapon drawn. "Stay back," he ordered, his voice tense. "We don't know what this is." Laura ignored him, approaching the structure with a mixture of curiosity and dread. She reached out tentatively, brushing her fingers against its surface. The moment she made contact, the patterns flared brightly, illuminating the entire clearing. A low, melodic tone filled the air, resonating with the same hum they had heard earlier. Suddenly, images began to project into the sky above them. Holograms depicting scenes of destruction. Planets consumed by fire, civilizations reduced to ash, and fleets of alien ships descending upon helpless worlds. The message was clear. This planet had once been home to another species, one that had been wiped out by invaders. "It's a warning," Laura said quietly, her voice trembling. "They left this behind to warn whoever came next." Daniel looked pale, his hand shaking as he clutched the sample container he had been carrying. "If this place was attacked before, how do we know it won't happen again? What if the Valens come here looking for us?" Samantha clenched her fists, trying to push down the fear rising in her chest. "Then we'll have to fight. Or run, whatever it takes." Ryan shook his head. "Running won't work forever. Eventually, we'll have to stand our ground." For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of the discovery hung heavy in the air. They had found a paradise. But it came with a price. This planet wasn't just a new beginning. It was also a reminder of the dangers lurking in the galaxy. Laura finally broke the silence. We can't turn back now. This is our best chance. But we need to prepare for anything. The team returned to the shuttle, their mood somber but determined. As they lifted off, leaving the mysterious structure behind, Laura gazed out at the planet below. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also fragile. Humanity would have to tread carefully if they wanted to avoid the same fate as those who had come before them. Back aboard the fleet, the news spread quickly. Some passengers were thrilled by the prospect of settling on such a promising world, while others were terrified by the implications of the warning they had uncovered. Laura addressed the entire fleet, speaking honestly about what they had found. "This planet offers us hope," she said, "but it also reminds us of the challenges we face. If we want to survive, we must be ready to defend ourselves and each other." In the days that followed, the fleet began preparations to establish settlements on the planet, which they named Haven 7. Construction crews worked tirelessly to build shelters, set up farms, and secure resources. Meanwhile, security teams developed strategies to protect against potential threats, whether from hostile aliens or unforeseen dangers on the planet itself. As the first buildings rose from the ground, Laura allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Standing atop a hill overlooking the growing settlement, she watched the sun rise over Haven 7, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. For the first time in months, she felt a flicker of hope, not just for humanity's survival, but for its future. But even as she smiled, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. Somewhere out there, the Valens were still watching, and sooner or later, they would come. Years passed, and Haven 7 transformed from a distant dream into a thriving reality. The settlements grew rapidly, spreading across the planet's fertile lands like roots taking hold in fresh soil. What had once been empty fields and untouched forests were now bustling towns filled with laughter, industry, and life. Humanity had not only survived but flourished. Laura Bennett often walked through the streets of New Horizon, the capital city named after Earth's old aspirations, marveling at how far they had come. The buildings rose tall and proud, constructed from materials harvested on Haven 7 itself. Solar panels gleamed under the sun, powering homes and businesses. Farms stretched for miles, producing crops that fed thousands. Schools taught children about both Earth's history and their new home, ensuring that the lessons of the past would guide the future. It was a world built on hope, resilience, and unity, a testament to what humanity could achieve when it worked together. Ryan Carter played a key role in shaping this new society. His engineering expertise helped design systems that made life on Haven 7 sustainable. Water purification plants turned streams into clean drinking water, while advanced recycling programs ensured nothing went to waste. He often joked that he had gone from building spaceships to building cities, but there was pride in his voice whenever he spoke of their accomplishments. Samantha Ellis, too, found her place among the settlers. Though she no longer piloted ships through the vast emptiness of space, she became a leader within the community, overseeing transportation networks and helping establish trade routes between settlements. Her courage during the early days of exploration earned her respect, and her determination inspired others to keep pushing forward despite challenges. Yet, as much as they celebrated their success, the shadow of the Valens lingered. The warning left behind by the planet's previous inhabitants served as a constant reminder that humanity wasn't truly safe. Scouts kept watch over the skies, scanning for any sign of alien activity. Defensive structures dotted the landscape, ready to protect against potential threats. No one forgot the stakes. They had escaped Earth's destruction only to face new dangers among the stars. One evening, Samantha climbed a hill overlooking New Horizon, her boots crunching softly against the grass. She gazed down at the city lights twinkling below, reflecting on everything they had achieved. Beside her stood Laura, who had joined her for a rare moment of quiet. Neither woman spoke for a long time. They simply stood together, watching the horizon fade into darkness. Finally, Samantha broke the silence. "Do you think we'll ever stop running?" she asked, her voice soft but tinged with frustration. "Every step we take feels like we're just trying to stay ahead of something bigger than us." Laura sighed, folding her arms against the cool night air. "Maybe someday," she replied. "But for now, survival is enough. We've proven we can adapt, build, and thrive, even in the face of impossible odds. That's more than anyone thought possible." Samantha nodded slowly, though doubt still lingered in her eyes. "I just wish I knew if we'd done the right thing. Leaving Earth, coming here." Laura placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "There's no way to know for sure. But look around you. Look at what we've created. If this isn't the right thing, then I don't know what is." As they stood there, a shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a faint trail of light in its wake. For a moment, it felt like the universe itself was acknowledging their journey, a fleeting reminder that they weren't alone, even in the vastness of space. Decades later, Haven 7 had become a beacon of human ingenuity and perseverance. Its people thrived, forging a society rooted in cooperation and innovation. Stories of Earth's struggles and the daring escape aboard 1,000 ships became legends told to younger generations. Laura and Ryan were remembered as pioneers, their names etched into monuments alongside those who had sacrificed everything for the cause. Samantha, too, became a symbol of bravery, her story inspiring countless pilots and explorers eager to follow in her footsteps. But humanity's legacy didn't end with Haven 7. As the years went by, scientists discovered traces of other habitable planets nearby. Slowly, carefully, they began sending out expeditions to explore these worlds, expanding their reach even further. Each new settlement carried a piece of Haven 7's spirit, spreading it like seeds scattered across the galaxy. Laura lived long enough to see the first colony established on another planet. She stood beside Samantha as they watched a ship lift off, carrying settlers to their next home. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pride. Humanity had come so far, defying every expectation placed upon them. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were explorers, builders, and dreamers. When Laura passed away, her final words echoed in the hearts of those who heard them. "We are more than the sum of our fears. We are the legacy of the stars." And so, humanity continued onward. With each step, they proved themselves capable of greatness, not because they sought conquest or power, but because they refused to give up. In launching 1,000 ships, they hadn't just escaped Earth's confines. They had rewritten their destiny among the stars. On Haven 7, beneath skies filled with unfamiliar constellations, people looked upward with wonder and hope. They knew the journey was far from over, but they also knew they were ready. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as humans always had. Out here, among the stars, they had found not just a new home, but a new beginning, and it was theirs to shape however they chose.